Hello, Wabwire. How are you?
I'm fine, Mikey. How are you? Good to see you.
Yeah, I'm pretty good actually. We've got this event coming up with MozFest, which is a kind of international meeting of people that are interested in a free and open internet and net culture as a whole. And I propose to have this discussion there about decolonizing the internet. The reason for that is partly down to the experience that we had at the Talkaoke Skills Lab. And, we saw the various inequalities, firstly in terms of pure internet access and the fact that you guys are taxed and also it's very expensive for you to get online. And then when you do get online, it's beset by problems. But then also, that's the one side. But the other side of it is I felt that people in Uganda knew much more about the UK and Western culture than we know about Uganda. And there's an asymmetry there. And I guess also from an economic side as well, people are being creative in Uganda, but there's no real money flow, whereas people mostly in UK and the US are actually getting money for their content because they've got many, many more views. So there's the three things we have to start off with. But do you want to just say what your take on it is and what your thoughts about this subject are?
All right. So when we talk about decolonizing the internet, what we mean is making it accessible for everyone. Because in this day and age, the internet is a tool of expression. It is a tool of information and knowledge acquisition. In Uganda, this is not the case, because constantly the regime is using social media by stifling people's access to utilizing platforms like Facebook in order to sort of like gag dissenting opinions about the establishment. And I think this is a very great conversation for those that love and for those that feel that the internet has to be a safe, open space for everyone.
Yeah, I think that was clear from our experience talking to you guys and doing a project with the people in Uganda. Is that just something we have to accept? Is that anything either you or I or the rest of the people that are involved in this conversation can do about it?
Yeah, so when we talk about decolonizing the internet, we mean that we need to promote a conversation from the global south and the people in the global north so that we can pick case studies that really are important to maybe inform some of the decisions, the wrong decisions that our leaders are making, especially when it comes to stifling access to internet. For me, decolonizing the internet means everyone is able to express themselves freely without the internet being used as a tool for stifling dissenting opinion.
Is there anything that we can do to encourage that open conversation? I know that we like to get these conversations going, and I guess you might say that's a starting point. And we've had a lot of conversations already, but just in terms of action, in terms of like promoting what people in the global south are saying, is that part of it? Is there anything that the big platforms, we're on Zoom right now. To be fair, we're struggling a little bit on Zoom, but you mentioned Facebook and I guess the Meta organization. Could they be doing more? Could other social media platforms be doing more? That's really my question.
Big technology companies that are behind these social media platforms have a responsibility to the people, not only to utilize or to make these platforms accessible, but also safe spaces for people to be able to express freely their views and opinions, regardless of how much it hurts certain people in certain groups. As long as it is within the boundaries of morality. Okay, when we talk about morality, then the conversation will be around what is moral and what is immoral. But as long as it's within the bounds of not hurting others, as long as it's expressing what people feel, as long as it's transformative, as long as what is coming out is progressive, then this information should be accessible. So the first thing that these platforms have to do is to take on that responsibility and know that they have something that is very important to human civilization, especially now. That is the first thing. The second thing is moderate these platforms to be more driven towards being safe spaces for everyone, so that the young people who access these platforms also feel they're safe. so that the older people that use these platforms are able to actually use them with ease. For the people with disabilities, these platforms are as efficient and effective as possible. The third thing is to also democratize access and innovate around accessibility in terms of language. I think they've done a great job in making sure that at least we have translations, but there's need more for people, especially who consider themselves people with disabilities, really need platforms that cater to their demographic. Women also experience a lot of violence on these platforms. So moderation should be centered around the safety of women on these platforms. It's the same thing with cancel culture that we're always talking about. Some people are taking these platforms as tools of denigrating or maybe hate speech. That is something that needs to be moderated as well by this platform, whatever leaders. In Uganda, accessing the internet is quite hard because it's very extremely expensive, which is not like in the UK. And you would expect that because we're in Uganda, that is something that will be much easier. I'll give you an example. For you to actually access 5 GB of data, right, or 10 GB of data, you need something like $50 or maybe £40. The lowest income earner here is probably living on $1 every day. For them to actually raise that much to be able to sustain themselves on the platform, that is getting them out of the conversation that is happening on the internet platforms. So one, lowering the costs so that we can have equal access for everyone. That's how we can democratize the platforms. The second thing is because of what some leaders consider as dissenting opinion that they're not comfortable to hear. In Uganda, we've had to face certain closures of certain platforms like Facebook. It's legal in Uganda to use Facebook, apparently, because the opposition used it very much during the recent campaign elections, and they garnered a lot of support. So the government feels it should be stifled, it should be closed down. So people are having to use VPN to bypass whatever system that is in place to be able to access Facebook. So what does that mean for the big platform makers? Because you have a country like Uganda where it's illegal for people to use Facebook, but then you have Facebook that is operating in Uganda. So what responsibility that Facebook have? Yes, so those are some of the things that I think we need to talk about. Also, of course, we talked about languages as well. Not everyone in Uganda knows how to speak English. Not everyone knows how to speak French. Some people are very traditional in their communication, and it doesn't mean that they're not communicating just because they don't know English or French. So I think it's important for these platforms to consider that if we're going to say we are democratizing or we are decolonizing our platforms, we need to be open to other people who do not speak the same languages like us and give them the chance to be able to prototype ways they would like to communicate within our platform.
Well, Rui, thanks very much for that. I think it is important just to sort of spell out the basics there, because I think that's moving the conversation forward. People are just not aware in this country of those difficulties. And that's just before we even begin the conversation. Then there's a whole conversation that we need to have, about culture, about about economy and all of those things that, that I mentioned at the very beginning. Is there anything you want to say about either culture or economy in terms of like a creative economy? I mean, more than anything else.
Yes. So when we talk about decolonizing the internet, we mean access, we mean safe, we mean open, we mean informative, we mean knowledge bases. So for me, that is what decolonizing the internet means. It's up to us, the creatives, to reimagine new futures. And this is our opportunity at the MozFest, as part of the MozFest, to be able to center this conversation. And maybe who knows what will come out of the insightful opinions that will come out from this conversation could inform the future of what the internet we want you and I, both the UK and Uganda and South Africa and Germany and everywhere around the world, the kind of internet that we want. So I call upon each and everyone that is listening to this provocation to join us in this amazing conversation as part of the MozFest that is being curated by the People Speak and in collaboration with KQ Hub Africa. Looking forward to see each and every one of you in this conversation, and we hope the meaningful conversations will spark the meaningful change that we need towards decolonizing the internet. Thank you.